It was 2:30 in the morning. A scream tore through the silence at a secluded mansion in Manoa, Honolulu. A young woman's desperate cry echoing through dark corridors. Within minutes, a slaughter had begun. Blood oozed from the edge of a bedroom door, trailing along hallways, splattering across floors in slow, glistening rivulets. In a small auxiliary room, a renter named Ain huddled in a corner, body shaking. She pressed both hands tightly to her mouth, too terrified to emit even a whisper. She would become the sole survivor of a massacre that claimed an entire family of 5. No one who knew the neighborhood could have imagined such horror. Manoa, nestled in a verdant valley of Honolulu, was known for its tranquility, tree-lined streets, gentle breezes, and a sense of security rare in any city. In 2024, Honolulu was even rated among the safest cities for tourists globally. Yet, that quiet night shattered every illusion of safety. Tonight, we rewind to May 10th, 2024, to unravel the dark truth behind that fateful night. Piece by piece, we will walk you through the blood-stained corridors, the hidden pressures, the silent clues, and the ultimate revelation that rocked an island. We will begin in the immediate aftermath, exploring the crime scene and Ain's testimony. Then we will delve into the Oda family's public image and the burdens they carried in private. We will follow investigators step by step as they chase every lead: financial stress, messages, psychological threads, and finally arrive at the devastating conclusion. Brace yourself. This is not merely a cold case file. It is a portrait of despair, of a man's descent, and of how a seemingly perfect household masked an abyss. Let us enter the mansion at 362 Hoa Loa Komanoa. Let us hear the echoes of gunless screams, the drip of blood, and the silent reckonings. Let us question: how could one family vanish so utterly in a home without forced entry? By the end of this presentation, you will know what truly happened that night and the heavy price paid in darkness. The morning after, at 8:34 a.m. on May 10th, 2024, the Honolulu Police Department received a frantic call from Ain. Her voice trembled as she said, "I heard yelling and screaming in house number 362. Please send help immediately." Officers responded swiftly. They arrived to a pristine house, doors locked, windows intact, without any signs of forced entry. They knocked repeatedly, called out names, peered through windows. Silence. No reply. Neighbors heard nothing. With no signs of disturbance, the officers reluctantly withdrew, pondering if it was a false alarm. But not long after, Ain called again at 9:15 a.m. Police returned. This time, through a window, an officer spotted a body lying in the hallway inside. They forced the front door open. The crash of the breach sent a sharp echo. Immediately, the metallic stench of blood hit them. Inside, the scene was unbearable. On the main hallway floor lay the body of a man, his chest pierced, blood pooling. His right hand still clutched a kitchen knife. That man was the homeowner, Pario Oda, age 46. His lifeless form bore signs of struggle. In bedroom 1 was Sakurako, 17, the eldest daughter. She lay sprawled in a pool of her own blood, multiple stab wounds visible. Next door, Orion, the 12-year-old son, lay on the bed with a fatal chest wound. In the master bedroom, Naoko, wife of Pario, age 48, and Nana, the 10-year-old daughter, were found side by side, both fatally stabbed. The police realized with horror every member of the Oda family was dead, 5 victims in total, no survivors except the renter. The medical examiner estimated the time of death between 2 and 2:30 a.m. All died from multiple knife wounds. There was no sign of forced entry. Doors and windows remained locked as if untouched. No broken glass, no pry marks. The perpetrator had vanished without trace. Investigators sealed the scene, began photographing every angle, collecting blood spatter patterns, victim position, and any trace evidence, though the initial reports would later show few usable clues. Oddly, none of the neighbors reported hearing screams or commotion. That night remained eerily silent, except for Ain's sense of alarm. That discrepancy would haunt the investigators and become a central mystery to resolve. To the outside world, the Oda family appeared perfect. Warm, generous, stable, respected. Pario Oda hailed from the island of Kauai, known for his humble beginnings and steady character. He once had a previous marriage and a daughter from that union. Although that marriage ended, he remained involved in his first daughter's life. Later, he married Naoko, a calm and family-oriented woman. Together, they had 3 children: Sakurako, 17, Orion, 12, and Nana, 10. Pario worked as a chiropractor specializing in spinal adjustments. His practice in Honolulu had garnered a loyal clientele due to his skilled techniques and personable approach. He was said to arise at 5 a.m. daily, prepare breakfast for his children, then head to the clinic. Neighbors recalled him assisting elderly residents, helping carry groceries, even providing free treatments occasionally. The Oda home, at 362 Hoa Loa Manoa, was a white, minimalist mansion, about 700 square meters, purchased around 2013 for $1.05 million, later appraised at about $1.8 million. The family had lived there nearly 10 years. The children were described as exemplary. Sakurako, academically brilliant and passionate about cooking. Orion, sporty and sociable, beloved by peers for his kindness. Nana, the quiet youngest, who secretly enjoyed soccer and persevered in her training. During festive seasons, the family decorated lavishly, hosted gatherings, and welcomed neighbors warmly. Their image as a loving, cohesive unit was rarely challenged. But behind this facade hid a mounting strain. Some neighbors noticed the decorations and lights diminished in recent years. A few employees at the clinic recalled that Pario became more withdrawn, sometimes arriving late or taking sudden days off. He declined social events and no longer hosted small gatherings he once presided over. A few clients noticed he appeared tired, distracted. In 2021, Oda was sued by his clinic building's landlord for unpaid rent. After months of negotiation, he paid around $53,000 in December to settle. That financial strain was known among colleagues. In early 2024, Oda was also cited for delinquent taxes. He eventually paid about $7,815 to resolve the liability. His clinic's revenues had dropped sharply in the wake of the COVID-19 pandemic. Clientele declined, overheads remained fixed. Oda began selling personal assets, his car, a treadmill, other instruments, and even took shifts driving a taxi to supplement income. Close acquaintances later revealed that Oda confided, sometimes loosely, to friends, "If I cannot sell the house, I cannot live another day." In private messages, he reportedly spoke of feeling humiliated, drained, ashamed of failing his family. But no one believed a loving father capable of violence would actualize such threats. The cognitive dissonance between the public image and private despair would prove tragically real. From the start, investigators focused on possible intruders, but the lack of forced entry made burglary improbable. No evidence of theft was found. Cash in the living room remained untouched, valuables left in place. The absence of intrusion pointed to a perpetrator familiar with the home, someone trusted by the family. The inconsistency. If an intruder launched such a violent attack, why no noise would alarm neighbors? Attention turned to Aine. She claimed to have heard faint commotion overnight, but had remained hidden out of fear. She waited until dawn to call authorities. Investigators noted that donating her immediate call at 2:30 a.m. could have changed outcomes, but she said she feared disturbing the homeowners and assumed the conflict would resolve. Given that a lone female would face enormous difficulty carrying out a massacre of this scale, Aine was temporarily removed from suspect status. Yet suspicion lingered. How did she not hear more, or intervene, or flee? Could she have been complicit? No concrete evidence linked her to the crime. Investigators canvassed the area for surveillance cameras, questioned passers-by about vehicles seen near the home overnight, checked cell phone pings. They scoured for any trace evidence, footprints, fibers, fingerprints. But the scene seemed immobilized. No foreign prints, no hair of unknown provenance, no tool marks. The crime scene was too clean, as one detective put it. When forensic analysts processed the biological material, they found primarily the victim's DNA. No foreign profile matched any database. The lack of external material made progress slow. Meanwhile, detectives revisited the family's contacts, business associates, clients, creditors, even past neighbors. They looked for grudges, threats, unpaid debts, or any interaction that could have triggered violence of such magnitude. But no overt suspect emerged. The puzzle deepened. Was this a crime of passion, a targeted revenge, or something far more twisted? Aware that time erases evidence, the investigators pushed forward. They obtained Oda's phone logs, message histories, browser searches. They requested bank statements, clinic accounting records, and internal communications. They compared his stress indicators over time. They reconstructed his recent behavior. How often he left home late? How many nights he slept at the clinic? Whether he took unexplained trips? Every detail mattered. As investigators delved deeper into the Oda family tragedy, a clearer picture began to emerge. The Honolulu Police Department discovered that the father, Darren Oda, had been struggling under a heavy weight of financial pressure and psychological distress in the months leading up to the incident. According to statements from friends and colleagues, Darren had recently faced significant business losses and growing debts. He was known as a hard-working and devoted father, but those close to him noticed subtle changes: longer hours, sleepless nights, and a growing sense of anxiety. Despite these signs, few realized the depth of his internal struggles. Financial records revealed a series of overdue bills, unpaid loans, and dwindling savings. The family had been trying to maintain their comfortable lifestyle, but the economic strain became increasingly difficult to manage. The pressure to provide, combined with the fear of failure, weighed heavily on Darren's mind. At the same time, investigators learned that Darren may have been experiencing mental health challenges that went untreated. Reports suggest he was dealing with feelings of shame and hopelessness, compounded by the isolation that often accompanies financial hardship. Family members and close friends later shared that Darren rarely spoke about his problems, choosing instead to carry them silently, perhaps believing it was his responsibility to solve everything alone. Police concluded that the tragedy was not a result of external threats or criminal intrusion, but rather a domestic crisis triggered by overwhelming emotional and financial stress. It was a devastating reminder of how hidden struggles can spiral into irreversible consequences if left unaddressed. In the aftermath, the community of Manoa responded with grief and reflection. Neighbors and local leaders emphasized the importance of recognizing early warning signs of mental and emotional strain. Religious groups, mental health organizations, and social workers began offering free counseling sessions and support groups for families under pressure. Experts pointed out that financial instability can significantly increase the risk of emotional breakdowns, especially when individuals feel trapped or unable to seek help. They encouraged open conversations about money, mental health, and the stigma that often prevents people from reaching out. The Honolulu Police Department and community advocates also used the tragedy to promote awareness of mental health resources available across Hawaii. Hotlines and online counseling services were shared widely, reminding residents that asking for help is a sign of strength, not weakness. For those who knew the Oda family, the pain of loss remains deep. But their story now serves as a powerful call to action, to pay attention, to check in on loved ones, and to support one another through hardship. The tragedy is a solemn lesson that even the most caring and capable people can suffer in. Silence. Sometimes the smallest act of kindness or a simple conversation can make all the difference. As candles flickered outside the Oda home during nightly vigils, one message echoed through the community: no one should carry their burdens alone. When the autopsy reports were finalized, the details confirmed what detectives had long suspected. Each victim, except Oda, bore defensive injuries: cuts on arms, hands raised, evidence of struggle. The only weapon in situ was the kitchen knife clutched by Oda's dead hand. No other blade or tool was found. No fingerprints or DNA from unknown persons were detected. There were no signs of backup, no prints on doors or windows, no forced entry. The trajectory of wounds, their depth and spacing, matched a single attacker moving with purpose. Investigators reconstructed a plausible sequence. Oda first killed Naoko and Nana in the master suite. Then he moved to Orion's room, inflicted lethal wounds, proceeded to Sakurako's room, and finally carried the knife into the hallway to die by his own hand. The silence, the clean scene, the lack of external interference, all tied into the narrative of a self-contained tragedy. Psychological profiling supported the conclusion. Oda's prior expressions of hopelessness, his attempts to procure a firearm, and the text messages reflecting that he believed no one else could care for the children as well as he could, all formed a motif consistent with familicide, followed by suicide. Investigators concluded that this was not a break-in, not a revenge attack, nor random violence. It was a deliberate act by one man against his own family. The official ruling: Pario Oda was the perpetrator. He murdered his wife, his 3 children, then intentionally ended his own life using the same knife. The tragic event stands classified as a family annihilation case, rooted in financial collapse, psychological crisis, and the paradox of a man who believed his act was, in some horrific sense, a final solution. Public pronouncements, press releases, and official memos reflect the gravity. The Honolulu Police Department declared it among the deadliest domestic murder cases in Hawaii in decades. Local media seized on the shocking inversion. The man known as a gentle father was revealed to be the architect of his family's destruction. Political leaders and community advocates called for mental health support, debt relief programs, and early interventions for distressed individuals. In the days that followed, the community reeled. The mayor of Honolulu issued a statement: "No family should perish like this. We mourn a loss that defies reason." A memorial sprang up at 362 Hoa Loa Manoa. Flowers, wreaths, teddy bears for Nana, handwritten cards, and remembrances. Locals, friends, and even strangers came to pay respects. The daughter from Oda's prior marriage, reluctant to speak publicly, released a short message. "I will never understand how this happened, but I will never forget those moments we shared." Funds were raised, over $100,000, to cover funeral and legal costs, to support grief counseling. Across social media and news, the narrative fractured. Some voiced sympathy. He must have been drowning in pressure, forced to decide between bankruptcy and shame. Others condemned, calling it a cold act of selfishness, accusing Oda of hiding behind a facade. The debate sharpened: mental illness or moral monstrosity, a breakdown or a monstrous betrayal. Beyond headlines, grief lingered. Neighbors recalled childhood memories of laughter in gardens, Christmas lights, children playing. The silence after was deafening. Therapists offered free counseling. Spiritual groups led vigils. Community leaders launched outreach, financial planning clinics, mental health crisis lines, destigmatization of despair. This tragedy became a cautionary tale. In documentary circles, Oda's case is cited as quintessential. When stress, pride, shame, and isolation converge, even a beloved father can become a destructive force. The story warns us to notice invisible suffering, to intervene early, to listen when someone says, "I cannot go on." Because behind the veneer of perfection, there might lie a soul teetering on the brink. May we remember the names: Sakurako, Orion, Nana, Naoko, Pario Oda. May their story kindle compassion, awareness, and vigilance.